right. Okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit today about blogging, how you can grow your business with blogging, and then how you can grow your blog with Instagram and vice versa. First and foremost, I just kind of wanted to talk about blogging in general and how it can really be beneficial. It's just a really good way to keep your followers up to date with what's really going on in your life. Because, obviously we post all the time on Instagram and Facebook, and we share little tidbits here and there about stuff. But really not too many people actually read everything that we write, especially on Instagram. People are on there to look at pictures. On Facebook, sometimes you will read a little bit, they'll look at some pictures, but on a blog, people are really there to read. Like if you go to a blog, you're expecting to sit down and read for a little while. So that's definitely one big benefit of blogging in general. You might feel as though you don't necessarily have that much to say, but you'd be surprised, like when you sit down and you just start typing, the things that will come out, And it also is really helpful for you because, at least in my experience, I think blogging can really help you get your own thoughts together and better organize what you have going on, and put it all in one place. How many people on here, can I see a show of hands of people that already have blogs? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 4 of you already blog. So that's good. So I had actually started my blog before I started Beachbody, and I didn't know what my target audience was. Literally my first post, I was just I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm just going to blog because people said I should start a blog. So I just blog about random stuff. But that's kind of one of the great things about blogging is that it's a great place for you to establish your voice and for people to really, really get to know you. They can get to know your sense of humor, just pretty much more beyond what you can put into a little post on Facebook or Instagram. I just want to make sure I get everything out that I wrote down. Okay, so how to grow your blog. I came up with 5 main steps, sort of, on how to grow your blog. So one of the big things about growing your blog is, of course, linking your blog to other social media. So link it to, your Facebook like page or just your Facebook page. Link it to your Instagram, and make sure that after you post on your blog that you share that on those platforms. So personally, I have mine linked to my Facebook like page, so I automatically post it on my Facebook like page, and I always do an Instagram post. If it's something really personal or whatever, a big one that's about my story, anything like that, I share it on my personal Facebook page as well. Okay, so the other thing is picking or choosing your featured image on your blog post. So depending upon the platform that you use, every post has an opportunity to put a featured image. So it's the picture that becomes associated with that blog post. So you'll want to put that picture as the same picture. This is number 2, by the way. That picture is the same picture that you use on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. Make sure it's consistent, so that way people know that they're looking at the same picture. And then that picture, this is number 3, should be an eye-catching picture or a scroll-stopping picture. Because so like I said earlier, Instagram, right, is all about pictures. So people are scrolling, and then they see a picture that catches their eye, they'll stop, and then they look at the post, and it says, oh, new blog post available. Check out the link in my profile. So you always want in your Instagram profile there to be a link to your blog, and then when you put up a new blog post, reference that link. So post your picture on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever, say, new blog post is available today about blah, 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 blah. Link is in my profile. Okay, and then number 4 is about establishing your voice on your blog. So make sure that even from the title, so it's important to have a great title on your posts, because especially when you're sharing it on Facebook, not so much on Instagram, but when you share it on Facebook, all that they see is a picture and then your title line. And then sometimes there's like a line or two underneath that that they can read. So you kind of have to establish a little bit of what you're going for pretty quickly. And obviously you go into detail in the blog post. You have plenty of space for that. But you want your title line to kind of catch people's eye and make it something that they'll want to read more about. Okay, the last one is to come up, and you don't have to come up with like tips, but this is just my example of what I do. So I do like a monthly Au Natural Beauty post. So because people come to me for skincare tips all the time. So I do one post monthly, and that forces me to blog at least once monthly about some kind of natural skincare tip. And I wanted to call it a skincare tip, but someone else is already doing that, so I called it an Au Natural Beauty tip. Yeah, so it can be something that you do weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, whatever. But it's good to have something that you're offering people in addition to just like your regular blog posts that are talking about, you know, your life or whatever it may be. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys an example. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, so this is obviously just, okay, my computer's really slow, just to warn you. So you can see this is just activity, whatever, and you can see some of my posts. By far, my most popular post thus far was my one about PCOS. And as you can see, the title of it is Confession, I have PCOS, which that seemed to catch a lot of people's attention. I post that one on my personal Facebook page, and I will go to that and show you. Sorry, it's slow. I think probably a decent amount of you saw it when I posted it. It was a little while ago now. But that definitely has been my most successful post so far. And also on my Instagram, even before I posted it, I did posts that were saying like, oh, I have a big post coming up soon, or like you post teasers kind of to get people interested and say like, I'll post more on that later, or like I have a full post coming for that later. And sometimes people will engage you on those posts and be like, oh, like what is it that you're doing? What are you using? Blah, blah, blah. They'll ask more about it. And, you know, pretty much you can just be like, oh, I have a blog post coming up. And then that makes people, they're kind of like looking out for it and already anticipating you doing that. So that's good as well. Sorry, I have a lot to scroll through. Keep it going. I just want to show you guys what it looks like on Facebook, if I can ever get to it. Almost there, promise. My computer is painfully slow. Almost there. Okay. Oh, sorry. Why? Why is it skipping? Okay. This is quite annoying. Should be right around here. For some reason it's randomly skipping. Okay, well, whatever. If it doesn't want to pull up, then it's not going to pull up. But pretty much on that post, I had like a whole bunch of people that I haven't talked to in years. Aha, here it is. So as you can see, this is all that I was trying to show you, just what it looked like. So this is the picture that I chose on WordPress as my featured image. So as you can see, all they could see was that. And then I put a little something there just basically saying what it's about. But this is why your title is really important, because that's the main thing that they see besides the picture. So obviously it says confession, I have PCOS, and like of my stats, that's the one that I've had the most views on. I had 600 some views on it in like one day, which is pretty insane because my entire views are 4,000. See, best viewers ever, 677 was from that one post. And that was in one day. So yeah, I posted the exact same thing on Instagram, the same picture, and then I like wrote the title on Instagram. And also in my blog posts, I like to put my email address. So I've had quite a few people that will email me that literally just found me on WordPress somehow. I don't know, how they found me, but they'll be like, oh, I saw your blog, blah, blah, blah. And they will have never seen my Facebook or my Instagram or anything, which of course are my main platforms. So other posts you can do, obviously, you can do like recipe posts. So I've done Shakeology recipes on here before. You can talk about challenge groups that you're doing. You can do posts about coaching, the coaching opportunity. We obviously share snippets of our story all the time. And we always talk about sharing snippets of our story and how important that is. And pretty much a blog gives you the opportunity to delve even further into that. So quite a few of you already blog. Hopefully some of that was helpful. And as far as Instagram goes, oh, actually one more thing about the blogging. So one of my big tips actually is to write your posts. So I like to sit down and I just write everything in one sitting. But I like to let the post sit for a day. So just like you do with a paper at school, right? You write it, and then you're supposed to not look at it for a little bit. You go back to it, read it again, proofread it, and as you're reading it, you'll probably add things, you'll probably take some things out, you'll edit it, fix it up, because like even more so than small posts, if you're blogging, you do not want to come across like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like you want your sentences to make sense. You don't want it to seem jumbled, or you don't want there to be large grammatical errors. Like there probably will still be some errors in there. It happens. And you can always, like if you're not very good at proofreading, you can send it to other people. Especially when I was first blogging, I used to send all of my posts. I would write them out. I would send them to my husband to read over before I posted them. I'd be like, is this okay? Can you read it? Can you edit it for me? And usually just like, yeah, it's fine. I'm like, you didn't even read it. So definitely you still want to let it sit and read it over yourself, even if you have someone else look it over. But another thing, if you do have someone else look it over, make sure that they don't change your content, because sometimes people, when they proofread your things and change things around for you, they think that they're somehow, I don't know, saying what you wanted to say with different words, but it's like, no, actually, that wasn't what I was trying to say. So be wary of that. If you have people edit your stuff for you, make sure that they do it in a way that you can see all of the changes that they make. Yeah, and I would definitely read it over again. So, you know, it's your content. This is what you're putting out to the world as you. So it's definitely important to know what you're saying. And you can always go back and change posts later as well. It doesn't have to be done right away. But yeah, definitely I recommend, like, talk about your posts a lot on your other social media platforms. Definitely put a link to your blog in your Instagram bio if you want to grow your blog, and do a post about it. Every time you post on your blog, do a post and say, hey, link is in my bio. That also sends people to your full Instagram page, and maybe they'll be like, oh, this person's page is cool, follow, you know? So it can grow your Instagram followers and your blog followers. And not everything has to be useful content for people, you know? It can just be random stuff. I'm trying not to curse here. I don't know if we have any little kids, but just make sure that it's you know? It can be deep and about your story, or sometimes you can just randomly sit down and start writing stuff, you know? Your followers, your tribe, your crew, whatever, they just want to get to know you better. And it's a really great way to do that. And like I said, it helps you too, because for me, like, it kind of works almost as a journal. It's like you get all of your thoughts out in one place. All right, so make sure I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, it's a great place to talk about challenge groups and stuff too, which I know I already mentioned, but really, I mean, you can put the details of what you have planned for your group in there. And it's like, hey, you can only put so much in an Instagram post. So the picture catches their eye, put all the detailed information in the blog. Okay. So now shifting gears more over to Instagram. So obviously I already talked about how you can help grow your blog with Instagram. And yeah, so now I'm just going to talk more about Instagram in general, separate from blogging. So I'm just going to go over some basics. I know there's like a million Instagram calls and stuff that have been done. You know, Shalene has her stuff. So there's been like a million things. I know this, but I'm just going to go over some basics again, because why not? So I think one of the really important things about Instagram is your bio. So I periodically, and actually multiple times a day, I'm always going to my full Instagram page and looking at what it looks like. So make sure and like reevaluate, because, you know, maybe you are changing, your posts are changing, so maybe your target audience is changing a little bit. So maybe you need to change your bio. Your bio should reflect what you're posting. So like if you say in there, oh, I love yoga, but none of your posts have ever been about yoga, maybe remove that. You know, so you want it to be a direct reflection of what you have. And obviously what you list first should be what you post more about. So for instance, on mine, I put naturally heal acne and PCOS. I always post stuff about my skin and hormone balancing, all that stuff. Wellness coach and inspiration, because I do, you know, like an inspo post at least once a day, and I always talk about coaching, you know, whatever. Real food paleo. I do at least one food post a day. Like, I have my criteria that I make sure that I follow. So for each of you, that's going to be different, depending upon who your target audience is, what it is that you are trying to achieve. And then the things that I post less about: ballerina, wife, mom, yogi, and then I have my email address and then a link for my blog. Definitely always make sure your email address is in there. That's very important. People need to be able to contact you. Make sure your email address is everywhere. Make sure the link for your blog or your website is everywhere. So like on your Facebook like page, on your Instagram, on your blog, you should be putting your email address. So make sure that they're all connected, right? Because it's all you, and you're showing different parts of yourself on the different social media platforms. But if people are following you, you want them to be seeing as many sides of you as they can so they get to know you better, so that you're more of a tangible, real person to them. So really try to link them all as much as possible. And that doesn't mean you have to post the same things on all of them all the time. The content can be different, but they should be able to access each of your different platforms, if that makes sense. So I think it's important that your bio is clean, nice, and it has at least the 2 links in it. And another thing that I do, like I said, I look at my full profile page a lot, and I kind of, like, I try to make sure that I'm not being too repetitive with stuff. So yes, I post a food picture every day, but is it my 3rd post of the day every single day? You know what I mean? So for a while I was doing like some kind of picture, word, inspo post first thing in the morning. I would do food in the afternoon, and then I would do, something else random in the evening. So what ended up happening, if I was only doing 3 posts a day, I ended up with like columns of the exact same thing. Okay, so you don't necessarily want to do that. Try to mix it up, the order that you post things in, but at the same time, you need to find consistency with what you're posting and the content that you're posting. And just make sure that it's representing what you want it to. Another thing, and one way that's really, really wonderful for boosting followers, is doing things like Women Crush Wednesdays. So amongst yourselves and amongst your friends, you should always be doing things like that, where you're sharing someone else's profile, because by doing that, their followers and your followers, it makes them kind of like commingle, and it's like they're opened up to another world, right? So anyone that shares me as their Woman Crush Wednesday, all of that person's followers come to my profile, and I typically get a lot of new followers. So I always make sure to do that for someone. So every Wednesday, I always make sure I do a Woman Crush Wednesday. Fridays, you can do like Follow Back Friday or Followers Friday, or there's all sorts of different things you can do to highlight people. But that's a really great tool, because the more people share you, the more followers you'll get. And then the more people you share, you're helping other people as well that you care about, while giving them a little boost, making them feel good. It's not like it's hard to do. Like, hey, there's plenty of people in this world that I love and I think are super great. So just pick one, post about them. It's not hard to do. So I think that's really important. You want people to post you, and then also you posting other people will make it more likely for other people to post you as well, if that makes sense. Another thing for your followers, and I know everyone knows about searching on Instagram, but one of the things that I recommend doing periodically, I know most of us have our hashtags saved, and we just copy and paste that and put it into our comment box. Obviously not in your post, which I think everyone on here knows. You post your post, as your first comment, those should be your 30 hashtags. But periodically, I recommend clicking on all of your hashtags that you use, because sometimes, like, the things that you think would be obvious will not have anything related to what it is. Like hashtag acne has the most retarded things under it. It has all these people posting shoes, and like almost nothing is acne related, or it's just people selling a bunch of like terrible chemical acne products. So like I stopped using that hashtag because it wasn't helpful. So obviously, like, you should be going through those hashtags, especially the ones that you use frequently. Click on them, go through, like a bunch of the pictures. Obviously, that brings people to your page. And then anyone that likes something of yours, comments on something of yours, of course, you have to go to their page. You should like some of their pictures. That's just a standard great way to get more followers. But really, like, look through your hashtags, because sometimes Like, just not related posts are there at all. And so stop using them. Like, I stopped using hashtag acne because people were not posting acne pictures under hashtag acne, just random stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's only so much that you can do. Those are definitely main things. You can always click explore or, you know, search for different random keywords, different hashtags. And for me, this is where I actually do most of my inviting as well, in the direct messaging area. So I'll find, you know, I'll be looking through different hashtags. If I see someone who's posting a lot of content that I think is really great, then I send them a direct message and I'm like, hey, I really like, you know, your profile. I feel like you're putting out a really good vibe, blah, blah, blah. Because that's how Meredith found me. She reached out to me on Instagram. So I'm like, okay, for me, that kind of works. You know, I just find people that I think I kind of click with. And plenty of times people are jerks about it and they're like, no. But, you know, it's the nature of what we do. Sometimes people are jerks. And there's plenty of times that you meet a bunch of great people. Like one of my coaches, Jessamine, who's on the call, I met her on Instagram. And she was one of the people that I found and reached out to because her Instagram was awesome. So I think yeah, there you go, she says hi. Don't overthink your posting on Instagram. It can get really stressful if you overthink it. The best advice that I can give is to just be genuine. Yes, people typically are not really going to read what you write. You need pretty pictures. Try to use natural lighting as much as possible. It's a wonderful thing. It helps so much. And, you know, just take pictures all the time. You don't have to post them right away. You can post them later. Like, sometimes the food I post, it's like my food from days ago. But hey, maybe today I didn't eat anything exciting. So I'm going to post that picture because that day I had like 10 exciting things and I didn't need to post 10 different food items, you know? And then you can take like different, like one meal usually has multiple pieces, right? So you can take different pictures. It depends on what you're doing, the type of things you're trying to post, what it is that you're trying to achieve with your posts. And obviously, pay close attention to how many likes you're getting on stuff. That's a big, like, sign of the type of followers you have and the people that are actually consistently following and looking at your posts and liking your posts. The ones that people obviously like a lot, it's like, okay, I did something right here. What did I do right here? And then try to, you know, use what you've already done in your future posts. It doesn't have to be that complicated, but I know it can be a little bit intimidating, and it can be really easy to get stressed out. And especially, like, I had a really big account share my profile last week, just randomly. Fat Face Skincare shared my skin transformation, and I don't use their products. They were just like, oh, we just think what she did is great. And I got like 100 new followers in a day, and I was like, oh my God, pressure. You know, like it puts a lot of pressure on you. I'm like, now my posts need to be really good. I don't want to lose all these new followers and blah, blah, blah. But like, when it comes down to it, just keep doing what you're doing. If it's working, if it's not working, try to do something a little bit different, you know, like just change little things here and there and see how people react to it. Before you know it, that post is going to be way down. Like if you're doing 3 to 5 posts a day, that post is going to disappear in a week anyway. No one's going to see it. So really, it's not that big of a deal. I think that's really mostly what I've got. Let me see if there are any questions in the chat. How often do I update? Do I update what? Sorry, Davina, I think that was your question. My blog. So I'm pretty bad about consistency with my blog, honestly, but I make sure to post at least once or twice a month minimum. So I obviously do my monthly Au Natural skincare beauty tip because it's monthly. And then I try to do at least one other just random one. Like, it's not necessarily about anything. Sometimes it is about certain things. A lot of times I honestly just sit down and I just start writing. And then by the end of it, you know, people are like, whoa, that was really motivational, because I get like fired up after a while, you know, like you get on certain topics that you become passionate about, and you're like, you know, you end up putting out a lot of inspiration. And if you're putting your whole self into what you're writing, it comes across to other people. So, you know, I think just really invest yourself whenever you do write, and don't overthink it, in my opinion. Like, if you want to post every week, then post every week. You know, who cares if you only have 1 viewer on it? You don't need 1 million views on every single post. Okay, how often do I update? And do I have a schedule for what I post? Personally, I don't. But that's just me with my blog. Like, I've had times where I considered being very, you know, strict and organized about it, but it didn't really work for me. The more I tried to make myself blog, the less I blogged, because then it felt like it was a responsibility and I had to do it. And then it wasn't, you know, because once it's something you have to do, you procrastinate. And then I just wouldn't do it because I didn't actually really have to do it. But when it, like, instead I just keep a tab open with a new document. Oh, that's another thing. Always write your blog posts in a Word document so that you can save it, because you never know what your internet will do. I've lost entire blog posts doing that before, even if it auto saves. Write it in Word first. But yeah, so I personally don't have a schedule. I just make sure that I do my monthly beauty tip before the end of the month, obviously. My other ones are just random. Either if I'm inspired by something or if something happens in my life that I want to talk about. And whenever I write it assuming that no one is going to read it. Because, first of all, that takes the expectation off of me. Second of all, it makes me more comfortable, because I'm like, I'm just writing this for myself. I'm not writing this to please someone else. I'm not writing this to gain something from anyone else. I'm just writing this because I need to write it. Like, I have one random blog post. I couldn't sleep one night, and at like 3 a.m. I was just like, you know what? I can't sleep, and blah, blah, blah. And then I felt great afterwards. I got a couple of views on it. I don't really care. It doesn't matter how many views you get on it, because it benefits you too in the end. Let's see. How often do I change up my Instagram hashtags? Or how many different types do I have? I have quite a few different types. So I think this partially depends on all the different types of posting you do. So sometimes I'll do a post and I'll be like, damn it, I don't have like saved hashtags for this. So then that tells me, okay, I need to do another little note for those types of hashtags. So I have quite a few. I think I have at least, probably have close to 10. I'm pretty specific with mine. I try to go as in detail as possible. I have Beachbody, I have fitness, I have yoga, I have paleo, I have ballet, I have inspo, I have acne, travel, coaching, and then I also save my Instagram bios in here, different versions, funny hashtags for when I do funny ones, Yorkie hashtags for when I do ones about my dog. So those are all the different types that I have. I get really friggin' specific with it. And it's great to do that. And obviously when you do that, like, look through those hashtags, make sure that they're being used. And like I have my own hashtag paleo ballerina that I put on every single one. So like you can do stuff like that too, where you create your own. Or you can even do like hashtag challenges for things, you know, like you post something, you can tell everyone like, oh, you know, do your own post and hashtag blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with hashtags, and you can make up your own little funny ones. That's always good. People always love a funny hashtag. And you can put those obviously in your post. Those don't have to be in the comment section. I don't change them very often, but it pretty much is like whenever I do go through them, if I don't like the other posts that I'm seeing under that hashtag, then I'll just change that one. You know, I'll delete that one. I'll put something else in its place, and then I'll check that one out. Yeah, so let's see. Were there any other questions? How do I unmute everyone? Yes, I do. That was, so Mary asked in the chat, do you ever share your blog on your personal Facebook? So I do, but I do not share all of my blog posts on there because it's a different following that I have on my personal Facebook than on my like page or my Instagram. So the people on my personal Facebook are not there because they get anything from my posts necessarily. You know, a lot of the people that follow me is because they want skincare tips, they want hormone tips, they want eating tips, you know, they want something. They get value from what I post. People on my Facebook page, I mean, a lot of them I've just known for a long time, as I'm sure most of you guys can relate. They're just people in your life. They don't necessarily care that you're being healthy or that you healed your skin. Some of them do. Plenty don't. So when I do share it on my personal Facebook page, I usually share like the personal ones, the ones that are sharing my story, the ones that are like really deep or really meaningful or matter a lot to me or about my life. Those I share. And I find also that if I share them less frequently, that I get a better response. So like when I first started blogging, I just shared all of them on there. And like the first one, yay, a bunch of people were like, oh, cool, she started a blog, like. And then I posted the next one and people are like, okay, it's just another blog post. You know, so sometimes I think you can get better response with infrequency, at least on your personal Facebook page, not necessarily on the other ones. Those ones you need consistency. They're your business. But on your personal Facebook page, I think share like those really earth-shattering ones that you do. And you know after you write it, you're like, this is a big one. I need to share this on my personal page. People need to read this. And like you'd be surprised the people that come out of the woodwork and are like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Like people I literally barely ever spoke to that I'm just friends with on Facebook because we met once or whatever, you know, reach out to you and they're like, oh, this is so inspiring, blah, 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 whatever. It's just really cool, you know, seeing your Facebook friends kind of just come out of nowhere that you almost forget that you're even Facebook friends with. And they're like, I had one person say, oh, you know, you don't know that like everyone that's reading this, but you know, you inspire people from afar or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. I had no idea she was following my stuff because she never likes any of my stuff, but she's watching. They're always watching. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm trying to see, how do I unmute everyone, Mare? Or I guess people can just unmute yourselves if you want to. At the bottom. I see the mute. Audio options, maybe? Participants.
It worked. You could tell by Lori's face.
So, any questions? Sorry, I talked a lot.
This was awesome.
It wasn't 10 minutes.
I just said I was worried it would be too short.
No, this was, so I just started my, I guess like my website, my blog. And I'm always like weird about what to post on my blog. You know, I'm like, is this really like worthy? So this was awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, blogging is a little tricky. I didn't want to do it at first. I was like, oh, I'm not going to have any followers.
Yeah. I was weird too when I first started mine. I was like, so I made sweet potato fries one day. It was so awkward, but I mean, people are still commenting on that post from like 5 years ago.
Yep. Be surprised.
Mine
It's
has
nice
always
to know-
kind
it's
of
nice
been about my story. Oh, I'm sorry. Like talking right over you. But yeah, I actually started mine on Tumblr, and then it grew so much that I bought the domain.
It's awesome.
But yeah, I pretty much just share my story. So I'm looking forward to doing more premiums and doing more like tips, tricks, and everything. I have a surprise coming.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think one good thing about like sharing your story in the blog is that you can really go into details that you normally leave out. You know what I mean? Like people, it's like reading a story for people. Because for you, it's a story, but to them, it's like they're reading a book or something. You know, it's like
when I ran my half marathon, I had so many people asking me, so how did it go? How did you do it? How did it go? And I was just like, you know what, guys, I'm going to blog about it. Yeah. And it was so awesome to just like get so detailed and be like, you know, at this mile, I was like this. And everyone was like, I cried when I read your blog post. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah. And that's a good thing because people are there to read, like I was saying, unlike Facebook and Instagram where they're not necessarily there to read. Some people are. Those people will go to your blog. It's awesome. Yep. Any more questions or comments before I stop recording?
I was just gonna reiterate the people coming out of nowhere. Like I did my big one about running from the past last week, and I had someone who I barely like talked to in high school, and we just kind of like we were the same grade, so we were friends on Facebook, and she messaged me and she's like, I thank you for sharing that because like there's a lot of similarities. It's not the same, but there's a lot of similarities, and I really appreciate that. So if you ever need to talk, I'm here, and I really appreciate it. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. You want to talk? I'm here too. And so it just kind of opens up new people to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So good.
All right, I think I'm going to stop recording now, unless there's anything else. No? Okay, I'll stop recording.